All right, hello class. I must say I miss seeing your faces, and I'm getting lots of notes from everyone else that they miss not seeing everyone else. So what a genuine group of people. What a treat it was to see each other at the beginning of the semester, but it's okay. We're gonna persevere. And today's lecture is going to be about people that are on the autistic spectrum. Just a reminder, my dogs will be coming in and out. If I put them away, they would just bark. So sorry. You need to find the chapter in your book that relates to autism, those dealing with the autistic spectrum. I believe it's chapter 8, but I can't remember if that is the white book or the blue book. So please read accordingly. All right, so autism is a lifelong disorder, but it is a spectrum. So that really means that every person is very unique. There's a huge long list, this spectrum. Not everyone has every little item. They may have a certain groupings of characteristics from this spectrum. So again, when I'm talking about this population, please keep in mind this is not everyone. These are just certain characteristics that are on the spectrum. So it's a neurological disorder, and there are no known causes for that. There's much speculation. There's still a lot of different research going on about known causes, but right now there's no proven evidence of anything clearly stating. But there is a lot of speculation and a lot of research because there are a lot of people that are on this spectrum. So let's just talk about that spectrum. What are some common characteristics? People with autism, again, physically would probably not be anything noticeable, but there could be challenges in speech. So there are some people on the spectrum that have delayed speech. This could be evidenced by a child who doesn't really start speaking until they're like 3, 4, and 5 years old. Some people with autism never acquire speech. They may have certain gestures that they do. So again, I'm shooting out all different areas here. So language. There's some social challenges. There could be. Some people with autism really may not be the ones that initiate conversations. Generally, they may speak more clearly about factual things, items, but dealing with facts rather than feelings and emotions. Those are more abstract ideas. So if you're in conversation with someone with autism, generally it might be a more factual conversation. Not so much chit chat and small talk might not really be necessary for someone that's on this spectrum. You might see people having repetitive patterns, maybe repetitive rocking. It can be clicking. It can be fixation on small, manageable items. It could also be hand clapping, rocking, can even be head banging, which you and I might think, wow, that might not be pleasant, but someone with autism, that could actually be a pleasure-seeking habit. I want to talk about the senses. So again, this is not everyone. This is just on the spectrum. What I find very fascinating is that it is a sensory impairment, and that means it could affect 1, 2, or all of the senses. So let's just start with the sense of sight. Someone on the autistic spectrum, just even being around fluorescent light bulbs. Again, fluorescent light bulbs, they have a repetitive cycle. There's actually an on-off cycle to these fluorescent bulbs. You and I are not really challenged by that, but someone on the autistic spectrum could possibly see fluorescent lighting as on and off strobe lighting. That blows my mind. Like, wow, can you imagine just walking into the grocery store and these lights on and off, or walking into a classroom and a teacher saying, I need you to focus. yet there's lights on and off. Sometimes the sense of the sunlight could actually be harmful. They could actually shy away from bright lights, or maybe they're drawn to bright lights. Maybe that's a pleasure-seeking stimulant. So we've got sight. Could also affect a sense of taste. Someone on the autistic spectrum could have a heightened sense of taste, so certain foods they may completely be appalled with or drawn to. It could even be a texture situation. Some certain squishy foods or fruits someone on the autistic spectrum may stay away from. Sense of touch. Now this is a fairly common one. I wish my dog would sit down. I'm so sorry. Jessie, go lay down. Sense of touch could mean that maybe gentle touches could actually be painful or just so unpredictable that a person on the autistic spectrum doesn't like gentle touch. Another common one would be wearing socks. Or having to wear a seat belt. Just having something close to them may make them agitated, uncomfortable. Another sense of touch could be even their pain threshold. I've heard from parents that have mentioned that their child was undiagnosed, and then at a young age their child was swinging and they fell off the swing and like landed flat on their back, and the parents thought this child is surely going to cry. Instead, the child just got right back up and went back to the swinging. They loved this swinging sensation, and the sense of pain wasn't really something that they dealt with. They could tolerate a lot more pain without actually having concerns about it. Again, that head banging, maybe that's a pleasure sensing. Maybe it isn't really as painful. So sometimes you will see people that are dealing with having helmets because, again, keeping their brains safe. The sense of smell. Someone on the autistic spectrum could have a heightened sense of smell. That means these flowers might be too strong for them. It might be my shampoo could be too strong. So, so they might really pick up on the sense of smell, and that most of us maybe don't even notice, but they could have a heightened sense of smell. The sense of hearing. Again, this blows my mind, but someone on the autistic spectrum, it could be a small sound, but someone with autism could possibly hear it at the same loudness as like my voice, which should be the loudest thing besides my dog's feet right now. So again, if you think about someone with autism in a classroom, so if you think of all those senses, you've got the lights, you've got the smell, you've got the clothing, the socks, you've got people making noise, you've got all of this that they are sensory trying to handle, and then a teacher says, I need you to make eye contact. It really blows my mind. I've seen those bumper stickers that say, join the world of autism, because they're truly dealing with a different world, especially someone that has all these sensory challenges. So if you could just put your mind at like, wow, I can't even imagine. So really, conversation probably isn't that important when they're dealing with all of these sensory challenges. So again, I just want to throw that out there. But while we're talking about all of these challenges, I also want to talk about people that possibly have these, but they're doing amazing, brilliant work. I mentioned people with autism generally would deal with concrete ideas rather than abstract ideas. So we may have people with autism that excel at maybe music. Have you heard of that? Someone that has autism, yet they're amazing at the piano. Well, the piano is a concrete, factual, it's all patterns. So it makes sense. There's nothing, once you learn the patterns, they never change. Someone with autism may actually excel at math. Numbers don't change. There's nothing, there's not a bad day for a number. You don't have any of these changes that you're dealing with. Numbers are numbers. They never change. Formulas are formulas. They work. People with autism may excel at geography, architecture. There is an amazing woman who is the spokesperson for people with autism. Her name, if you want to do any extra credit articles still, and you don't want to find an article solely on music therapy, do an article on Temple Grandin. Temple, like a building, a temple. Grandin, Grand, like how grand, I-N, I believe. Temple Grandin. You can also, well, I suppose not right now. There's a movie out about Temple Grandin, played by Claire Danes. And you can watch that for extra credit if you would rather watch a movie and then just write a paper on that. But Temple Grandin, she herself has autism, and she speaks to people that don't have autism. She has many books out. Oh my gosh, she's amazing. And when I've gone and heard her speak, and she starts her lecture by saying, well, I know that you people need me to have a half moon on my face in order for you to feel comfortable. And she's talking about that idea of a smile. She knows that people that don't have autism, they need these little reassurances, like a smile or a nudge or a go get 'em, all these little bits of encouragement that maybe someone with autism takes that as just like too much. So she knows that we need a half moon for us to feel comfortable. She herself is an architectural design. She actually designs slaughterhouses. So again, that's something that some people might be too emotional to deal with, but she's able to understand what works best for cattle to keep in line and in a most humane way. She also has designed a squeeze box. So again, if you're not familiar with this, it is an actual box that a person with autism may want to go into, but they set the pressure on the box. So it's like getting a hug, but it's all the same pressure. Someone with autism might not want a hug from someone because there's so much like a tightness around the shoulders, but the rest isn't. It's so unpredictable. Whereas a squeeze box, you get in, you set how much you want to be pressure. It's also similar to weighted blankets, which is another thing which is really works very well for this population. It's very predictable. So I always want to dwell on some of the positives of each of these as well. There's people on the autistic spectrum doing amazing work. Paul Royer is another one. He makes the Royer microphone. Those of you that study music, Royer microphone, they actually come in a kit for those of you geeky people that want to assemble their own microphone. Paul Royer has autism, so he understands the mechanics of building. Could Paul Royer sell you that microphone? Probably not. I know he can't. I've seen him at Sweetwater. He goes up to the board, he tells everyone the design, how your ear hears, how this can be amplified as a perfect vocal microphone. And then he sits down and his brother gives you the sales pitch. So again, everyone has their strengths. So I think, perseveration, we mentioned that a couple weeks ago. For those that are have learning challenges, perseveration is the challenge from going from one activity to the next. That's also very common on the spectrum. Someone with autism could possibly have that as well. So there you go. Chapter on autism. Please read the chapter in your book as well.